we often talk about health, we talk about wellness, we talk about success, we talk about careers, we talk about relationships, and we may even talk about some topics related to spirituality. But we rarely often talk about our fundamental, foundational understanding of the reality that we are living within. What is this lens that we are looking at reality through? And has it been intentionally discolored so that we end up being asleep to the true nature of reality? And is it distorted in such a way that it is keeping us on a hamster wheel, totally distracted from our true purpose in life, from the evolution of our very existence here, beyond just this birth? And is it distorting the very decisions that we take because this foundation has been so corrupted and distorted that it leads us to making all the wrong decisions when it comes to our health, when it comes to our wellness, and when it comes to our success, not just from the perspective of this life, but from the perspective of our soul existence and the very reason for us taking birth on this planet. So yes, today's a very deep video, and I don't claim to have all the answers. However, it's food for thought and something that I think we need to be giving much more greater attention to, especially as it relates to our health, especially as it relates to our wellness, especially as it relates to all the decisions that we are taking. Because if we can correct this very foundation of our existence here on this planet, then it can start to have these ripple effects that can start leading us to making much more better choices related to all the other aspects of life, that we act in sync with the true nature of reality and with our true purpose for taking birth on this planet. So yes, today's a deep video, but let's dive right into this. This one thing that often goes unspoken affects almost every aspect of our reality, from our physical health to the emotional decisions that we take and the very spiritual direction that we have in life. And that is this foundational understanding of reality. Now, from the moment that we are born, we are plugged into a system, being our schooling system, to the media that we get exposed to, and the very culture that we are embedded within. And these tell us who we are, what success looks like in life, and what we're supposed to do. Rarely do these systems ever teach us to question the very nature of our reality. They keep us in this constant state of distraction to never get to this foundational understanding of what is the true nature of reality. Now, whether you believe that is due to this matrix being controlled by archons, by reptilians, by asuras, by negatively oriented beings, or whether it's just due to the very structure of this indoctrination, or whether it's because we are living within the age of Kali Yuga, I'll leave that to your own exploration and research. However, one thing is quite clear, is that our current understanding that we are subject to is not neutral and potentially flawed, and something we need to take a step back and really assess and come up to our own conclusions after doing our own research and our own inner exploration. We are systematically disconnected from almost everything that really matters, from the land, the natural foods that we're meant to consume, and to some extent our bodies. Instead, we're fed with processed foods, with pharmaceuticals that have side effects that no one really questions, to music and media that end up fragmenting the very human spirit. Here's where it gets a lot deeper. There are some who believe that these medications are not just synthetic, they carry energetic imprints from deeply unethical origins. Some may see it as chromatic codes from unseen realms. Now, whether you believe that or whether you believe it's due to the unnatural ingredients that are foreign to our very biology, the outcome is generally the same. It's disharmony that's created within our physiology. Toxic environments to architecture that generally tends to sap the very energy out of us to lifeless routines, these are all meant to feel like normal because we don't tend to question it, or we are not sensitive enough to recognize the effects that these surroundings and environments and routines that we follow actually have on our physiology. Here's the trap. If your very understanding of reality is flawed, it's very likely that all these other decisions you are taking in life that is based on this foundational understanding of reality may also be flawed. From your health choices to your career path to your spiritual pursuits in life. And even our idea of success and self-worth is often based on inherited programming from people who were also indoctrinated. And because of that, many of us end up chasing empty goals, feeding our ego and seeking recognition, thinking it will fulfill something deeper, but then it doesn't. Instead, we burn out, we get sick, and we hit midlife crisis. And then we wonder what went wrong. Here's the deeper truth that many of us tend to avoid. We're not here to be chasing distractions. We are here to evolve. We're here to remember who we are, to self-realize, to anchor in higher levels and states of divinity, to anchor in the presence of God, to achieve moksha, spiritual liberation. But how often do we end up stopping to ask how much of our time is dedicated towards these pursuits? Are we striving for our freedom, or are we only entangling ourselves deeper and deeper into this trap that is the matrix? Now, this matrix is a master of distraction. It will seduce you with pleasure, with ambition, with struggles, anything to keep you from seeking the divine. Because once you start to remember who you are and to embody the divine, it leads to the dissolution of this very matrix structure. Now, I'm not here to impose upon you my version of reality. That would just be adding another layer of distortion. However, this is a nudge, a gentle invitation to start asking these much more deeper, profound questions, especially if you've been afraid to ask these questions in the past. To do the research, to listen, to feel, and to remember. Because we're not victims unless we choose to stay blind. The moment you begin to see reality for what it really is, free from all these distractions and distortions, you begin to reclaim your power. And with that power comes these greater levels of conscious awareness, so that we can start to make much more consciously aware choices in life that can have the ability to transform our health, to transform our lives, and to make this life much more meaningful and aligned with your soul purpose. I get it. This type of message can be really easy to overlook. It's an uncomfortable message. It's a message that when we take action on this, it can shake the very foundation of our reality. But maybe that's exactly what needs to happen. Because without that shake-up, we remain asleep. Our lives may remain in these miserable conditions. And we aren't aligned with our true purpose in life. And we tend to only enslave and entrap ourselves deeper within this matrix. There's the one thing that I hope you take away from this video today. It's that question everything, even the things you think is true. Reclaim your lens, rebuild your foundation, and walk this life not as a prisoner of this matrix, but as a conscious being that is here to evolve and not here to remain asleep and a victim to the matrix. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.